Welcome to Films and Stuff with your hosts, Pete Mitchell and Ethan Hunt.
Pete, we're back. Films and Stuff. A new day, a new week, a new episode.
That's right. How are you, Ethan?
Everything is great. I have to say, 2023 has been a little bit slow in terms of new content and compelling content, both in cinemas and on our myriad of streaming platforms. But you, like a white knight, armed with passwords, came this week and you recommended something with such passion that I immediately watched it. And I have to say, after less than half an episode, I was in.
Yeah.
I was in. Thank you, Pete. Thank you, 2023. You want to take it away and introduce it?
You're very welcome. Absolutely. So today we're going to do a little bit, not too deep a dive into Netflix's latest program, Kaleidoscope.
Kaleidoscope.
So Kaleidoscope, for those who are not in the know, stars Giancarlo Esposito, who we all know from Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul, The Mandalorian. I mean, he is really in the last, I think, 5-10 years come out as one of the most menacing and also one of the, I just say he's one of the better villains that we've seen on TV.
Oh yeah.
He's really, really good. So
have we seen him play a good guy?
Well, kind of in Kaleidoscope, right?
And this is the first time, right, that we've seen him be a good guy, right?
Maybe. I'm sure there are. Let's put it this way. I don't think he's famous for it. Let's put it that way. I think
it's not his
the roles that have really defined him as one of the best actors of this generation have been where he's played a villain.
Yeah. What a fun life, huh? Just to be a villain.
Yeah, and you know what's funny is he embraces that. What's really great is that he embraces that as well. So, you know, there's like these pictures and stories on Instagram and Twitter about how like someone came up to him and asked for a picture, and he took out a banana and said, "This is a gun," and then he holds it up to their head in a menacing way for the picture. You know what I mean? Like small things like that. Or where they were, you know, the story was he was talking in an interview, he was talking about how he's got I think he's got 2 or 3 daughters. And they were talking about the Mandalorian, where he obviously is a villain and he's kidnapped Grogu. And in the group family chat, they said, "You better not do anything to that. You better not do anything to Baby Yoda." And he said, "Oh, trust me, when I get a chance, that little son of a bitch is going down." Right? You know, so he plays up into that even with his family. So I think that's really nice. I think that's really great in that he doesn't take himself too seriously, but when he does, you're in for a bit of a ride.
Yeah. So he's the lead character in this.
He is the lead character. There is a strong supporting cast, although in fairness, I don't know many of them. Of course, you know Jai Courtney. Everyone knows Jai Courtney. He's in there as a one of the supporting cast. And I am ashamed to admit I didn't recognize many of the other actors.
I would say you recognize them, like Rufus Sewell.
Yeah. You're right. You know them by face, but maybe not by name.
Yes. You're like, oh, I know that guy. I have to say, I didn't recognize Jai Courtney right away because Jai Courtney seems to get bigger. I don't say this like fat. I mean, like he gets like
bulkier
ripped,
and stronger every series. Yeah.
Yes.
Every role I've seen him in.
He is huge. Like I just do not recognize him anymore from like the initial roles that I remember him from, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's a very, very solid cast. It's on Netflix. It's a heist movie, which is your
my
It's more than a
preferred
passion,
genre
right?
or subgenre of thriller / drama is heist.
Yeah.
I will watch a heist movie over a comedy, over a rom-com, over an action, over anything. A well-executed heist, I am 150% in on.
And this one is, I have to say, the world is not long for heist movies. There are a lot of heist movies or a lot of heist shows, and the majority of them are pretty, like it's if you've watched a lot of film and TV, it's hard to come up with a strong heist plot, right? That like keeps you engaged. Kaleidoscope does it though.
Yeah, and we've buried the lead here a little bit, but Kaleidoscope is there's no easy way to say this, so I'm just going to go out and say it. It's a show that spans 25 and a half years, let's say 26 years, and you can watch the episodes in any order you'd like. In fact, it is recommended you don't watch it in order. And so on Netflix, the shows are not chronological. And I, in fact, don't think you should watch the show chronologically, although I'm sure there's an argument for it. But it's super, super, super interesting because every episode that way is kind of like a self-contained episode. We know the overarching story is that there is a heist in play, but we don't know any of the players. We don't know what their roles are or what the ultimate effect, what ultimately is going to happen to each of the players. And that's what I really liked about this show is that it deviated from that formula so strongly because, even to a certain extent, when you watched Ocean's 11, the first one, you were kind of like super impressed. You loved it. When you watched the second one, it wasn't that great, but you liked it as well because, again, it was a lot of fun and, but by the third one, it lost its, let's say, or definitely by Ocean's 8, the Sandra Bullock led one. It lost a little bit of the charm because we all know that by the third act, we are going to expect a subversion of some kind, right? So it wasn't unexpected. There was some twist in favor of the protagonists every third act. It was amazing in Ocean's 11. It was so-so in Ocean's 12. It was well done in 13, but not surprising. And it was just not good in Ocean's 8 at all.
Yeah. I have to say, in a very crowded market, especially when you talk about heist and thriller type movies, the fact that they've got this wrinkle, I think is really important for them because it would be hard to get excited about a series. If it was a heist movie, that's okay. But a heist series, I think would be really difficult because it's got to move a little bit slow.
Oh, yeah.
And every episode, I think, is just going to be, all right, we know you're getting prepared to rob the bank. We know that you need to get an armored truck. You're going to steal the armored truck. But then this happened. Like, I feel like you would lose so much interest in the run-up to the actual heist itself, right? So I thought that this wrinkle, and I don't know if this was come up at the beginning or at the end of this show. Like, if it was, okay, Netflix was pitched it and they said, yeah, we've got a lot of those. We don't need another one. They said, oh, wait a second. We can switch it up by doing it this way. And then Netflix is like, that's brilliant, green light. Or if someone said, hey, we can do this. And Netflix is like, yeah, that's an amazing idea. Never thought of it like that, green light. But either way, it's really, really, I mean, it's not like mind-blowing, right? I mean, they haven't like reinvented sliced bread, but it's really, really refreshing to watch a show in this way.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a very good twist on a genre that doesn't use the format as a twist. Because usually we expect twists, but not in terms of format. So, the most recent mystery / it's not a heist movie per se, but the most recent mystery I can think of, or whodunit I can think of, is probably Glass Onion, and before that was Confess Fletch. And if you look at those mystery thriller movies, and they're closely aligned to heist movies. In both cases, they weren't stealing anything, but in terms of the format and the formula, they're very similar.
Yeah.
You've got the setup, you get introduced to all the different parties, and then, instead of a heist, you figure out the crime. And so while they were both very good, they were also both relatively formulaic, right? We understood we understood as viewers academically that Fletch was going to figure out who the murderer was, or actually probably already knew a few days into the movie, but then kind of kept his cards close to his chest, which is what you saw also definitely in Glass Onion. So I think this was just a really, really nice way to change up the formula, and it harkens back a little bit to Memento.
Oh, wow. Great reference.
A movie where, again, everything was shot in reverse, and in this case, they took it one step further and said, hey, look, you watch this not in reverse, not in chronological order, you watch it in random order.
Having watched Kaleidoscope, you finished it, right?
I did, yeah.
Which character did you immediately fall for, and which character were you like, oh, I wish they would cut them out?
So Jai Courtney's character, I wanted him out.
Yep.
And I fell for the woman working at the security firm.
Yeah, the daughter. What did you think about Juan Carlo? Like, do you like him in this role? Because he very much, and it's something I'm always fascinated by with actors, he really diminishes himself a little bit, Like, you see him playing someone who's been diagnosed with Parkinson's. You see him not strong emotionally or physically, right? You see him in a lot of, like, you don't see him at his strongest and most virile in this show, right? Yes
and no, in the sense that Giancarlo Esposito has never really been a physically imposing actor in any way, shape, or form. He's very imposing and he's very intimidating, but I don't think of him as someone like, oh, I'm afraid he's going to punch me in the face. Even in The Mandalorian, when he plays Moff Gideon, I think, right? I can't remember.
Yeah.
He has a very strong presence on screen, and he's a very intimidating presence, but it is not one of physicality. And so, what was interesting about this show, which we saw a little bit of in The Mandalorian, when he has the Darksaber fight with The Mandalorian, is it's a little bit weird because it's kind of like he's stepping out of a comfort zone. And I'm not saying that's his comfort zone, but maybe it's my comfort zone for him, which is, I think of him as a scary guy because of his words, not because he's wielding a lightsaber, or not because he's punching a guy in the face or running through a vault, or, these kinds of things. So it's a bit, I understand what you're saying in terms of, I don't agree that it diminishes him, but I think there is definitely cognitive dissonance for me when I see him in roles like this. Not that I don't want to see him in roles like this. I'm happy to see him. It's just, it's a little bit weird to see him do anything physically exerting, because that is not, when I think of him, that is not what I think of.
Who I originally thought, there's a dude named Peter Mark Kendall.
Okay.
Yeah? And I thought that guy, I thought he was the same guy, tell me if I'm wrong, in Peacemaker. Not Peacemaker, The Boys. Am I wrong about that?
Are you confusing him with Randy Quaid?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know what you mean because
They look kind of alike, right?
not too dissimilar in terms of looks, but more importantly, I think in terms of role and in terms of like sidekick persona, very similar.
Yeah. I was really not clear. Like, is that the same guy from The Boys?
Yeah, I can see that. I can see
so.
where that confusion will come.
Yeah.
You said you've seen one episode fully or two episodes?
I've seen up to Blue. So that gives me 4 episodes. There's 8 or there's 10.
Because they're not numbered, they're
8.
labeled by colors.
Yeah,
I have
there's
no idea.
8 episodes, so I've seen 4.
Okay.
But those 4 don't necessarily mean I've seen the first half. It just means that I've seen half of the episodes.
Correct. Right. And I think that is a super valuable and super important distinction you've just made. That's really well said. Is that you've watched half of the entire show, you've not watched half of the premise so far, exactly, because it's not chronological. Exactly. So in those
I thought 4 was a good way to stop. I mean, I almost binged them. I wouldn't say I did 4 in a row, but I did them probably over 2 days. And I was really into it. If we wanted to poke holes, which is something we do, I could probably express a few frustrations with some plot elements. I mean, it's always, and this maybe goes back to, like the Ocean series, which is they've got something that's impenetrable, but they break it down piece by piece and they find these highly unlikely ways, to bypass each element of this collectively impenetrable kind of system, right? And they all revolve a little bit on some luck, some skill, some cunning, some, right? So I have to say, I always have a little bit of mixed emotions on that. I really like when it's done, but it can occasionally go a little bit too far where I'm like, come on, like that wouldn't happen, But I generally like the heist idea. So after 4 episodes, I've got a good idea. I mean, it's very clear what the heist is going to be about. It's clear about who is, kind of going to be working together on it. And obviously there's a little bit of doubt in terms of who is on the up and up and who is, trying to undermine things, right? Like, I guess this is very similar to on our last Streamer Skip episode, I talked about the mole on Netflix, right? Mm-hmm. Who is the mole? Because I think that's what we're getting to here is that this team that's working together for the heist, there's, I think, at least one person who's not aligned with the vision. And you could make an argument, at least after 4 episodes, every single person has their justification for why they are pretending to be aligned with the overall scheme, but they're going to screw everybody over, undermine everybody, sell them out at the first opportunity because they've got something else in mind, and it's selfish reason, has nothing to do with what everyone else is doing.
Right.
Am I on the right track for that? Like, that is a thing I've picked up, right?
You definitely are. I think the one thing I will say is because the show isn't chronological, the wind gets taken away from the sails a little bit because I don't remember which episode it is, but like you see 6 months after the heist or, at the very end, you see the end before the actual end.
Okay.
So when that happens, the rest of the episodes, how this entire story is going to end up. So it feels like sometimes it feels a bit anticlimactic, and in other times you also be like, yeah, you do whatever you want. I know how your end is coming. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's
yeah.
It's.
I mean, I was gonna say, like, this is the what do you call it? Not the totem. You always say like the thing that everyone is going after. What's it called?
Oh, the MacGuffin. Yeah.
The MacGuffin in this case is bearer bonds, right? $7 billion of bearer bonds.
Yeah.
Right? And let's give a quick finance lesson as though we're like on the Wolf of Wall Street. A bearer bond is just a bond. It's not registered to anyone's name. And when you hold it physically, it's ownership, regardless of how you kind of got it. It's just assumed if you hold it, you own it. And then it gets a little bit fuzzy, right? Okay, that part is fine, right? I mean, first of all, we know that, I don't know in the world if there are any bearer bonds, right?
Oh, I think they used to be a big thing. I don't think they are anymore. But
I think they've all been replaced one way or another.
Yeah, it's too insecure and too prone for, money laundering, basically.
Right. So that's the crux of this heist, is that there are allegedly $7 billion of bearer bonds.
Yeah, and it's based on true story, by the way. Based on a real thing, yeah. Yeah, so the story itself is obviously not true, but the idea of this bearer bond heist is genuine. I think there was, I don't remember when, but certainly in our lifetimes, and I think even in our very recent lifetime, there was an instance where a bunch of bearer bonds that were issued in like the 60s and 70s were stolen from a bank or a vault or something at a heist. So the story is fictional, but the premise is genuine. Or true story. The bonds are a MacGuffin. They are the object of desire that moves the plot forward. Mm-hmm. That's it. They're not using, it's not that they're taking the money because they want to buy a jet and buy a company and do all these things. They just want the money for the sake of having the money. That's it.
Do you think that a lot of times these films get ahead of themselves by everyone wanting to steal the entire MacGuffin?
100%.
Rather than just kind of
100%.
peel off, like, right?
Absolutely. And then they also, plots almost always get derailed also because there's inevitably that one person in the crew or that one couple in the crew that's going to, backstab everyone at the last possible minute and steal the whole thing for themselves. And that almost never works out for them. Yeah.
I mean, I think Ocean's 11 started this trend of kind of like this ragtag. I mean, that's not really the right word, but they all had like some
specialization
qualities.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't actually think that any one of them is really the person that you'd want to trust or on that crew, but everybody somehow like pulled it together when it mattered. And they all had this one very, very highly specialized element of expertise that no one else in the world could replicate. So Danny Ocean was willing to put up with all their other like crazy antics because they needed this one thing,
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas realistically, this is like kind of not how you would put together, a qualified team, if you were trying to mitigate risk and mitigate like the human element of these things.
Yeah, I think that's the thing is that, and that's probably another, not fault, but downfall of these heist crews is that they always go for ability over personality.
Yeah.
In any business as a manager, the personality and the management of the team actually is more important than the skill level of the individuals for most functions.
Right.
Because you can teach skills, but you can't teach personality.
Mm-hmm.
So and that ultimately is always the downfall. Now, of course, we're comparing this to Ocean's 11. Ocean's 11, the advantage was that everyone was on the same page and everyone had a good personality because they all had a respect and they all had a hierarchical structure to say, hey, look, at the end of the day, Danny and Brad Pitt's character are the boss. Everybody else is subordinate. You come to them if there's an issue and they'll sort it out for you. So even though there's specializations here, even though Giancarlo is supposed to be the boss, like he gets undermined by the team constantly for silly things, right?
Yeah.
So
what do you give this? What do you give this show? What's your rating of this show?
So
Is this must subscribe?
It was, when I first watched it, my instant reaction was to give it a mooch. Huh. But the longer I've watched it, or the longer I've thought about it, the more I've thought about it, actually I elevated it to a must subscribe. One, it's a good heist movie. I say movie, but really it's a good heist show. Two, I love the fact that the premise is that it takes place over 25, 26 years, something we haven't seen before. And three, I love that it's not chronological. I love that you don't have to watch it chronologically.
Yeah. I mean, I'm 4 episodes in. I mean, for me, absolutely this is a mooch. I mean, I really like to be honest about these things. Or not honest, that's you know what I'm saying. I want to be really clear on these things.
Yeah.
If I didn't have Netflix anymore, and I said, hey, how much is Netflix? $9.99 a month. They're like, do you want to sign up again so you can watch these last 4 episodes? I could live without it.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think that I would do that just to watch these last 4 episodes. Like, oh yeah, I saw that show. It was good. Like, I didn't watch the end of it, but like, I kind of like saw where it was going. And that to me, I think is, whereas House of the Dragon, just to kind of like put it in context, if I would have had 2 episodes left and HBO would say, hey, you got to like re-up for another year, I would have paid for another year. To me, that's the distinction of a must subscribe. I'm not doing that yet for Kaleidoscope. It's possible that I do after 2 more episodes. But after 4 episodes halfway through, I'm not ready to make that financial commitment if I had to, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I understand that. And I think that in a show like Kaleidoscope, because it's not chronological, it's harder to give it a score halfway through or even 2 episodes in.
Yeah.
Because you don't know what you're seeing or what part of the show you're actually in.
And it's not to minimize the show, because there's great shows out there. And I do subscribe to Netflix and I would absolutely watch this whole show. I mean, I think that's stronger than a lot of other recommendations I've given. I'm just saying that if you've got money and you've got to choose which platform you want, and the only thing that you're interested in on Netflix is Kaleidoscope, I don't think it's worth doing that if there's other platforms out there that you've got a bunch of other stuff that you'd rather watch,
Yeah. Yeah. And spoiler alert, tune in the next couple of weeks. We will be going through our annual results so that we can give you our score to tell you.
Not easy.
Not at all. Not at all. But it'll give you an opportunity to understand which platform we believe provides the most value or bang for your buck, at least in 2022. And, we'll caveat it then, but I'll caveat it now as well. Past performance doesn't indicate necessarily future performance, but it's the best we've got. So that's what we're going to go with.
Yeah. I mean, in any case, I'm really grateful that you introduced me to Kaleidoscope. I think if nothing else, it's an absolute gem. It's a great diamond in the rough. It should be watched. If you have Netflix, if there was another rating, scale, and it was, you have Netflix, should you watch this? To me, the answer is absolutely yes.
Yeah. And I think inherently that's the way our ratings work, is that if you don't have the platform, if it's worth mooching, you should mooch it. But if you do have the platform and it's considered worth mooching, that means you should watch it.
Okay. Do we have anything more to say about this, or?
No, I think that's it. It's a mini series. I don't expect to see a season 2 because the story ends quite nicely in terms of, I don't think there's more for it to say. I think it's a must subscribe. At this stage, it's a mooch from Ethan. But again, our caveat is that it's hard. This is one of the few shows where you should watch the entire series before you make a judgment call. And in fact, that's exactly what happened to me. I made a judgment call. I thought it was a mooch. And then, a week after I finished it, I moved it up to a must subscribe.
It's hard. Okay, Pete, appreciate everything today, including introducing me to Kaleidoscope. Listeners, thank you for tuning in. Next week, it's going to be so cool. We've got a special guest. We're going to go through our year-end ratings. We've got more stream or skip as well.
That's right. We're going to probably be discussing, I don't think it's a spoiler to say, but we're probably going to be discussing Avatar 2.
Avatar.
So get ready. If you haven't watched it, go out in the cinema, watch it. That's not our review. I'm just saying in preparation, go out and watch it, and we'll discuss it and we'll review it with our special guest.
We'll be here. Everyone, thank you for tuning in. Pete, thank you as always. Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. Everyone, please remember to like and subscribe. Leave us a comment below the video. If you want to tweet at us at F&S Podcast, or if you want to leave us a message on Instagram at Films and Stuff Podcast, or if you want to go old school and email us, aloha at filmsandstuffpodcast.com.
Old school. Thanks for putting it out there, Pete. And thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Ethan.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Films and Stuff. If you haven't already, please subscribe and review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever podcasts are downloaded. Films and Stuff. There is no substitute.